Hey everyone, this is Natalie Chalky, and this is the Scopify Insight Show. In this series of shows, I'll be speaking to business and sales experts and learning from their experiences in their respective industries. Our guests, along with myself, will discuss business, B2b, sales, startups, entrepreneurship, technology, common problems faced, and solutions in their processes. This week, we are joined by our CEO, Vikram Bhatia. In this episode, we'll give you a more personal and closer look into his background, from starting a dating app based on matching people to food dishes, to how he was inspired to fix the problems in B2b sales from the ground up with Scopify AI.
Hi, Natalie.
Hey, Vikram. Thanks, Vikram, for coming on the show.
My pleasure.
Yeah,
Glad
no
to.
problem. Since you're the CEO of Scopify, let's give everyone just a quick introduction into your world as the founder. So, from what I hear, you founded a dating app based on matching people to food dishes, and now you're fixing the problems in B2B sales. So, how did that all start?
That's correct, Natalie. It actually worked out to the point that I was solving my own problem, right? I mean, being an engineer and also being from the business side, I did my MBA at Schulich School of Business. I in 2018, I was on dating apps, which were again the usual suspects, but all of them, I would say, started off with a profile picture. And no offense, but it was always mindless swiping that I was doing. And that kind of triggered the idea that it's generally a common interest that people want to start off discussing. Even when they match on any app, they always start about, what do you like? What do you prefer? And it's just a natural icebreaker to know somebody beforehand, and then start the conversations through that. So that kind of triggered the idea. And food was a natural icebreaker. We all love food. It's something that is non-controversial. And also coming in from a business perspective, I wanted to see if we can have restaurants make something out of a dating app as well. It has never been done before, so I gave it a shot. I partnered up with a bunch of restaurants in Toronto, understood that if I were to put their food pictures on the app and then route my users through my app, who would then swipe on their food pictures and land up on their doors with a date, would they be interested in serving them with a discount? A lot of them were excited about this idea. That was good. And then I signed up a few in the months to come. Then I went to India to get a few developers to build the app. I stayed in the office, got the whole app built through my developers in India. It was quite a journey. And then I learned a lot about how to build an MVP, how to build a product. Came back, threw a big party in downtown Toronto, invited the food influencers who became the first users of the app, and then launched it. And we got about 5,000 users on the day of the launch. And that was kind of the story of PB&J and what we did with it. Yeah.
Wow, that's an amazing story. Thanks for sharing, Vikram, about your first startup. Just hearing that, it definitely sounds like you've had some humble beginnings. So there's so many dating apps out there too. There's Tinder, there's Hinge, so much competition in the social media app and business world. I don't think there's any other app out there that matches people based on food commonalities, something that they actually have in common. It's a very unique concept for an app. And food also brings people together.
Yeah, exactly. So the matching part was very important for us. When we were making our algorithms as well, we wanted to make sure that we make it in a way that is unique to us. So we went in and understood, how many people, and we leveraged data. We understood, if more people like, let's say, a burger on a specific day, can we connect them with people who also have liked a burger around their vicinity, so that it could be a burger match? And similar to this, we could do it for a pizza, we could do it for a taco. So there's a lot of interesting learning as well in terms of matching people through a common item. And I guess that's something that I kept to myself. And also I'm doing a lot of that stuff in terms of matching and data in Scopify, which is my second startup as well.
There's a lot that goes into creating an app. I could definitely see how it would be fascinating to see how the data is collected based on user profiles, like what actually goes into making the app. And people don't really see what goes behind the scenes. So do you think that helped you with Scopify, like create the software in terms of features and user experience?
Oh, it did. It did a lot. Correcting. I did correct a lot of mistakes that I made. Again, as a first startup, you learn and you grow. But again, also understanding what we should be doing in the MVP, what we should not be doing, what kind of features we should be building, and the whole production landscape was very interesting. And I then leveraged that knowledge to then create a team, build a team with Scopify, and then just build on top of the experience that I had with PB&J. But sales it's always about getting to know the other person.
Even though B2C and B2B are so different, there's actually a lot of similarities, like you said, in the relationship building and finding customers or prospects, as in B2B.
And then again, as you rightly pointed out, it's so different because PB&J is more like B2C, and the Scopify is all about B2B. But I think in the essence, if you break it down, dating and sales are really the same sort of the underlying relationship, or the underlying I would say secret sauce is still the same, because just like in dating, in sales as well, you need to form a relationship with somebody to pitch to them, or even to approach to them. Right. So that's the underlying criteria that I thought that if the learnings from Scopify, learnings from PB&J, can be applied into Scopify, it's basically how we create relationships at scale. And can we find commonalities so that once people are connecting, even for a business purpose, like in Scopify, they can start with a common factor. And then again, that's the real problem we're solving in Scopify. How can we produce enough relationship building material at the beginning when somebody's prospecting, so that any email or any call that is made is no longer a spam email, no longer a cold call. It's already a relationship building call. And we all know that people buy from people they like, right? So if you can build a relationship with me, then I can buy from you and I can trust you. So that's the relationship learnings that I also brought in from PB&J to Scopify.
It's funny how you mentioned relationship building, such a basic human thing that we do in our everyday lives. That's actually a huge part for businesses all over the world, regardless of which industry that you're in. And it definitely sounds like you were able to master the relationship building aspect for two very different types of industries. So was relationship building like your main motivation for starting your apps, or was it just problem solving in general?
I would say just solving problems was always something that I was curious about and interested in. And as I said, I was always trying to solve my problem, right? I mean, dating, I was really looking to meet a lot of interesting people, so I created my app, and I met a lot of people through that. Sales, I would say, is a common thing with everything that we do, right? It's a thing that an entrepreneur does, a salesperson does, a marketer does. Sometimes we do it intrinsically, sometimes obviously we do it extrinsically. But sales it's always about getting to know the other person. And
like you said, it's not just about developing the best new software. It's actually about creating startups and businesses to actually help people in their everyday lives, not just about developing the best new app to make money. So what did you find that you had to fix about the B2B sales industry?
When I approached the B2B world, I really saw that a lot of people were just starting relationships just starting a sales pitch without knowing the other person. Mm-hmm. And that triggered the idea of bringing the relationship building factor from B2C that I learned into B2B. And the space was wide open. I mean, I really researched about what was already there. I did not just want to make a tool because it would solve my problem. I really wanted it to be a tool which can be used by salespeople across the board. And when I looked at the landscape, even the ones that are established, they were really promoting just cold calling or I would say, normal email messaging. I mean, none of the tools were actually digging in deep into the data to create some sort of a relationship building material at the beginning when a salesperson is researching about a prospect. And that's kind of where I decided that I should be doing something about it in the B2B world, because if it works, a lot of people can benefit from it.
I definitely agree with the way you're approaching the situation, just looking at it as a problem-solving tool. And yeah, I definitely see that's a fundamental sales issue that needs to be solved. Like, people, they reach out to prospects right off the bat with a pitch without even starting to get to know their prospects, without even looking at what they're all about. And I just feel like it might turn off the prospects. Just like the technologies, sales really needs to evolve from that. We need a new process. And from what I've been seeing, there's still so many sales problems out there. That's not the only one. So it's such a human issue, like you said, like building relationships and getting to know the other person, regardless of the industry that you're in. It's almost as if Scopify's technology can solve a very human problem.
It's a great space to be working in, and we have evolved technology so much that it should really be working for us, right? And sometimes it works against us as well, right? I mean, when we use so many tools, it's just analysis paralysis as well. So I'm glad that the first rushes of Scopify are being taken well by our existing product champions who have embraced Scopify and who have seen our demos, who have seen our product in action. And the real reason why I think they're excited is not just because of the data that we've been able to collect, but also we tend, or we want to do everything with one tool. It's almost like an Uber for a salesperson. So just like how Uber solved the problem of whenever you want a taxi, all you need to do is to push the button. It's almost like the same. Whenever a salesperson wants a meeting with a decision maker, all they need to do is to go to Scopify and find the relevant decision maker, message them through the same tool, and get a qualified meeting. Eventually, we want to make it as simple as that, like pushing a button and getting a qualified meeting. And with our MVP, I'm glad that it's being received really well, and we're on track to accomplishing our vision.
So just like you said with that Uber example where you can just get a taxi at one click of a button, I noticed that a lot of startups are really kind of going upon that. Like, a lot of people they don't have the attention spans that they had before in this day and age. People want things instantly. So a lot of startups are kind of monetizing upon that, right? And making the processes a lot more simplified for everyday things. And that also includes like with PB&J. And you're also doing that with Scopify, with sales reps. So I can definitely see room for that in the B2B space. It's definitely on trend with a lot of startups and what they're doing out there.
Right. So again, that kind of came in from our understanding of the landscape and the way that we have baked in the intelligence using our models. So because we want the software to do all the heavy lifting, we want the client experience or the user experience to be as seamless as we said, pushing a button, right? So that's the beauty about our AI and our workflow automations, that we don't want the user to think about in terms of what's happening behind the scenes. We want to do all the work. And AI really, if it's leveraged well, it's almost like an army of humans. You put that to work, it gives you the most intelligent answer when you want it so that you can use it to your benefit and get to the qualified meeting. And I will really give a lot of credit and kudos to our data science team and our product team who have worked tirelessly to get this message across so that finally the beautiful designs which our designer has made are so simple for our users and so intuitive that they come in, they onboard, they press a few buttons, and eventually they get a qualified meeting.
Those are definitely the main components in the seamless developing of an app or a software, as we've seen with your app in its previous success, and also with the software of your current project with Scopify.
So that's kind of the beauty of our product, and that's where we are different. Because we're really asking core questions via our AI and presenting answers with actionable intelligence in the most frictionless manner to our users.
It's amazing how technology is improving our daily lives and how we're implementing that into so many different types of softwares to help people improve what they have to do in their processes. And it's amazing how technology is kind of replacing the intelligence of humans through AI and automation. Basically, what you're saying is the AI and automation is replacing the brains of sales reps.
Well, pretty much yes, because the way that we have built our AI is almost like if you were to have 1,000 sales reps sitting down and doing a lot of calls, doing a lot of research, learning about the prospects and piecing all of it together. Imagine how much time that will take, and not everybody can afford that, right? So we understood early on that sales reps or salespeople across the board, they really are interested in 4 types of signals from their prospect, and we call those signals as BANT, which is budget, authority, need, and timeline. There are different versions of BANT as well, but BANT was the term that was coined by IBM back then, and we really took that definition home. And even though the term has evolved, the core message behind that term still remains the same. So if you break it down, let's start with the N in the BANT, which is the need. As a salesperson, you really need to know, really want to know what exactly is the problem that your buyer is or your prospect is in the market for. Right? So we call it the pain point. So if you can piece together the AI to answer the need for a buyer, then you're moving the needle. And then the second thing is the A in the BANT, which is the authority. And that's the second step we do to train our models to find who in that account or in that buyer prospect company would be your decision maker or decision makers. Because in B2B, we have also understood that there are more than one decision makers involved. Sometimes there are up to 6 to 7 decision makers. Then we understand the signals that are coming out from these 6 to 7, or even sometimes more, and we quantify them with a sentiment score and a confidence, which tells us that these would be the most ideal people that a sales rep should be speaking to. And we leverage all sorts of data to do that. And then once we do that, then we answer the 2 more other critical questions on the BANT, which is the timeline and the budget. So when would they buy and how much would they buy for? And if we can answer these 4 questions in the BANT at the top of the funnel for every sales rep, for every account that they prospect for, then we are moving the needle in the right direction, I believe. And that's why the product is so interesting, because we are answering these 4 questions with a fair degree of accuracy up until now. And the accuracy will keep just getting better, because once we release the product, we have a feedback system wherein if a user buys our data points, the BANT data points on any prospect, and they were to speak to the decision maker, after the meeting that has happened, they can actually come back and tell us that we were right on which of the parameters, and if we were wrong, which are the parameters we were wrong on. And because we have a fluid and a dynamic credit-based system in our pricing, we replace the user's credits for every feedback that they provide to us. So if, let's say, you were to take our data, you speak to your decision maker, you come back, you provide us the feedback, we refund you the same number of credits that you unlocked the data for in the first place. So, and that's something that I think nobody else is doing, and that's why we are unique. And we will use that user feedback to build on top of our AI. And that's why I think we would be very, it would be very interesting for the industry to see how well we do in terms of our AI. You need to really stop me over here, otherwise I can keep going.
That's okay. I totally understand. There's so much to talk about with a software like this. But I actually think it's really cool that you're explaining that to the audience, especially step by step, so they understand how this whole system works. I really think it's important for customers to understand it more in an in-depth way, rather than just, what they see on the website. It's always nice to get more information into what actually goes behind the product. And you mentioned qualifying leads, but it's being done through BANT and the AI. So, from what I know about AI, the human touch with that human input and feedback, it can actually educate and make the AI and machine learning smarter. So, what you're saying is that it needs a human touch.
So here's my thought process. I think that there is no technology that is perfect, and we know that there is no human that is perfect.
Mhm.
But a combination of a human and technology is very potent, right? So uh, I don't think there's going to be a scenario where you can replace the existing intelligence of a human completely, because there are nuances. There is emotional intelligence which only can come through a human brain, and everyday scenarios as we adjust to it. But there is obviously no discount to the technology. The technology is getting evolved such at a rapid pace that if you combine the right human with the right technology, then that is irreplaceable. So to your question, I would say that no, I think the sales reps would just keep it going. The sales industry is because of the sales reps, and
Mhm.
I can empathize with their problems right now, because again, as an entrepreneur as well, right? I find
Mhm.
as being the chief sales officer, right? Because my job is to sell, right?
Mhm.
Uh, so and again, as a sales rep, I really feel that if this were to exist right now, we could reach a lot of people through Scopify. We could really dog food our product to get to our users, which we will do and which we are doing. But I think as a sales rep, I would continue using Scopify and keep evolving with it, and that's what I expect. The industry would also do.
So, like you've said, you've been in the shoes of a sales rep. You've been a sales rep yourself. So, from what you've seen, do you think that sales reps are still, like, with the abundance of tools available, do you think sales reps are making effective use of them? Or with so much out there, do you think that they're still having to resort to the manual methods?
Well, in my experience, there are already a lot of sales tools that are out there to help salespeople. So, as I said, I just did not want to build another sales tool, which
Hmm.
was just another thing that they do or keep or pay for, but it works and it doesn't work,
And some of them don't even believe in using tools.
right?
Yeah.
So, I did not want to do that. As a sales rep, as I said, right, I feel that I am the audience of such a product. And I don't want to pay for such a product if it doesn't work for me.
Well, yeah, especially if you're a hardworking sales rep, that would definitely be a strain on the budget. Even worse if you're a company and you need to buy a sales tool for your sales reps so they can make deals quicker, but then you also have to put your faith in it that it actually works and gets you that actionable intelligence. And a lot of them, surprisingly, they don't.
Right? So
Mhm.
I have seen a lot of companies spend a lot of money on tools which just provide them email and a phone number. That is not intelligence, right? I mean, that is basic stuff, right?
Yeah,
And
you
if you,
can find that through Google.
you could find that to Google, right? So what is your secret sauce? So
So essentially, what you're saying is sales reps have moved on from older methods like knocking on doors. They are using these tools that are available right now to help, but they're still sort of missing a part of the picture. The tools are actually really not solving the problem 100%, and they're not really getting them the information that is critical.
I feel that a lot of people are waiting for such a product which gives them real intelligence, and which also replaces a lot of different tools in their repertoire. So we, as a complete umbrella of product, as a product, want to be the one stop shop solution, which gets you to the point where you can replace almost, well, I'm trying to be optimistic over here, almost all of your products that sit before your CRM, right? So we're not replacing a CRM. We are trying to replace all the other repertoire of tools or stack of tools that you use to get to the point where you are finding the intelligence, building a list, reaching out to your prospects, getting to a qualified meeting. And then once you're able to get into a qualified meeting, then you enter the prospect into your CRM as a qualified opportunity. Everything else can be handled via us. So as you would see on our website as well, we say that all you need is Scopify and a CRM to book new revenue. So hopefully this is something that will catch up and catch on to with sales reps. And existing sales tools will still continue to exist, But a unique proposition for us lies to really own the data intelligence market and the automation market to help salespeople just do the job from one single sales tool. And that's kind of our mantra as well.
Yeah, I definitely think it's a very specific product and specific niche that it's covering in the market. But I feel like there's definitely a lot of room for this, and a lot of companies will find it useful in their industries. So what do you hope to achieve with the Scopify Insights podcast?
Well, firstly, thanks again for hosting this and having me as your guest. I would really, what I would really want us to do is to make sure that this podcast is educational for our listeners. They can go onto the website. They can understand what we're trying to do over here. And we're also running an early access offer through the website right now. So what that means is that even before we release, we are looking for our product champions by giving them personalized demos of our product right now. So that is something that can be booked via the website if somebody wants to go and book a personalized demo. And if they like the demo, they can basically pre-order their first month on Scopify with a discount code. And it's about 80% savings if you were to pre-order the Scopify product right now in the early access offer. I think we are also running another discount code on top of that. So it's savings on top of savings. And if users were to go into the Scopify website right now and pre-order their first month with $150, which again gives them 50 leads a month with that 150, which will eventually cost them about $800 a month. So again, it's the time to take an action right now. If people are interested in seeing how well Scopify can work for them, I would encourage them to go to the website, book us into a demo so that we can give them a personalized demo. And if they feel confident about Scopify, they can pre-order their first month with $150. And then obviously from there on, they will only get charged $150 a month. Whereas, as I said, other normal pricing users will get charged $800 a month for 50 leads a month. And then for the saving on top of a savings, there is another discount code that we have, which is Insights Podcast 2020, which can be used at the checkout page, which gives them an even further 20% discount. So to the listeners, to the first 40 listeners of this podcast, we are giving that extra 20%. So it would not be $150 USD for them. It would eventually be $120 USD month on month. And they get to keep the pricing for one whole year.
That's an amazing deal. From what I've seen, like usually sales tools are so much more expensive. They cost thousands of dollars. So this is that's actually a steal in this type of market, especially since you're an entrepreneur. You've lived and breathed the challenges of sales reps. You've been in their shoes. You've been a sales rep yourself. Not only that, but since you're a startup, you understand how startups work. You understand that they're on a budget and they can't afford to spend a fortune on sales tools. So in addition to signing up, what else would you like the audience to gain from listening to this podcast? Is there anything that you want them to learn from your experience as an entrepreneur?
Well, on the contrary, I would say that if people listen to it and if they book us into demos, I would want to learn from their experiences, right? So, it's more about being in the business of feedback right now for us at Scopify. If people do like the podcast, if they are encouraged to try out our product, I would encourage them to go and book a meeting with us. We can give them a personalized demo. And then we can learn from their experiences, how well they have handled sales in the past, what are the challenges that they have faced, so that there is still time that we can tweak our models with their own experiences and build an even awesome AI in the back end. Because again, AI is almost as good as the inputs we give. So the more experiences we learn from our sales community, the better the AI models will be. So I would actually flip it around to see, how many people can volunteer to give us those inputs.
Well, at the end of the day, there are the ones that are going to be using the product and seeing the value in it to improve their jobs. So we should actually turn it around and learn about them. So it's kind of coincidental how you can turn that into the AI and learn from the feedback. It's almost like a relationship building through technology almost, instead of conversational.
Exactly.
I find it very interesting.
Human and technology is really important.
Mm. Thank you so much, Vikram, for coming on the show. I learned a lot just hearing your experience with entrepreneurship, business, and developing your 2 startups.
Thank you so much, Natalie. The pleasure is all mine.
Yeah, you're very welcome for sure. Thanks for tuning in, and stay tuned for the next episode of the Scopify Insight Show. If you enjoyed listening to this episode, feel free to hit like and share with your audiences. Feel free to give us a follow on our social media channels on YouTube, LinkedIn, Instagram, and Facebook. Also, feel free to give our website a visit at www.scopify.ai.